We are live.
We're live. Are we really live? I'm just going to say, I assume that we are. Hello, Facebook. We are live. It is still Mental Health Awareness Week. I'm Molly. I'm a doula. You can introduce yourselves.
Yeah. I'm Amy, also a doula. Yeah, that's me.
I'm Ellie, also a doula. I feel like this is not off to the strongest start.
Well, so we're meant to be talking about anxiety, aren't we?
Yeah.
And just anxiety in general, and I think it would be maybe a good idea to touch on anxiety in pregnancy, because I think that is something that comes up a lot. But we're all feeling super anxious today. I'm feeling very, very anxious. So yeah, but maybe that's good. Maybe that puts us in a good place to be able to talk about what it feels like, what helps us to feel less anxious. Yeah. So where should we start?
Same thinking face, Ellie.
That's the question. Where did you say? Where do you feel it in your body? Was that question?
Me?
Is that what you just said?
No, I said where should we start?
No, I prefer that. One of the things you're like, this is what we're going to talk about in anxiety.
I just said maybe we can talk about what it feels like.
What it feels like, yeah.
Because I imagine it. Well, it does feel different for everybody, doesn't it? I know even within myself, when I say that I'm feeling anxious, it doesn't always feel the same.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good place to start. How do you know that you're anxious?
I kind of don't until the moment's passed.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes, like, I don't know, sometimes I get like physical kind of like heart racing or feeling a bit sweaty, usually before a live. And during, actually. That's why you can't see my armpits at this angle, so you're all right. But yeah, like physical symptoms, and then but sometimes you feel those, but you don't connect it with being anxious until you get to a point and you're like, oh, that's why I've been feeling so shitty. So yeah, I definitely get that like sneaking up on you kind of feeling.
Yeah, I think for me it depends on how it's kind of like manifesting. So that I'm very aware that it's anxiety when it feels like that kind of sense of dread and constant worry and unease and not being able to relax and trust in the universe. But I think when it presents as something more physical, that I'm just like, I can't identify that it's anxiety until after the fact. So like recently when I have been feeling very anxious, I start to get heart palpitations and feeling like I can't breathe properly, I can't catch my breath. So I guess it's more like a panic attack thing. But yeah, it's not uncommon for me to go, oh, I think I'm having a heart attack. And in a very kind of doula way, Ellie just says, you just anxious, sorry.
I'll get a drink of water, have some sweet, stretch your body.
Yeah. But I think it's hard when those kind of anxiety, like the physical symptoms, like if you do put them into Google, I mean, it does just say you're dying. There is like like 111 thing, and it asks you all the questions and you answer with how you're feeling. It's like call 999 right now.
Which doesn't help with the anxiety.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I can just say, yeah. So that wasn't great. How do you two kind of experience this? So you don't know until after. When you say you don't know until afterwards, Ellie, like how do you how do you know afterwards? Is it just a kind of, oh, this is what feeling okay feels like, this is what feeling grounded and centered is like?
I'm much better with other people's feelings than with my own. I'm not very good at recognizing. I know it's got a name. Not being able to name the feelings that you have, but it's not like, when you, do you ever sometimes just get really cold and you don't realize that you're cold? You just think that suddenly the world is terrible. You don't have to nod along to this if this is just a me thing.
Yes.
And like your feet are kind of like going numb and you're like really cold and you're aching a ball. You don't think, oh, I'm cold, I'll get myself a hot water bottle. You just think, oh my God, everything is suddenly terrible.
Mm.
And it's like you just suddenly noticed that everything's terrible rather than thinking, oh, this is just how I'm feeling right now and there's something that I can do.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the permanent state that I live in with all of my feelings.
That must make kind of sort of techniques to handle those feelings. That must make that quite difficult because it's not like you can like recognize it and deal with it kind of in that way.
Yeah, so it's not like I can feel it coming on. It's not even like I can help myself when I'm in the thick of it. I think it might be called alexithymia.
Mm.
That might be something completely different, but that word just popped into my head. So yeah, I
I
don't
like
have anything managing with anxiety because I can't even recognize anxiety unless it's in another person.
Mm. You're good
There
at
are
recognizing it in other people.
yeah, there've been times in the last couple of weeks when I felt anxious, and I've told both of you I've been feeling anxious. But I think that's when it's like when there's a thing and the thing is on my mind, then I can recognize that it's anxiety.
Mm.
Like,
It's like related to something specific that you're
yeah,
about, a very like a specific thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you find that easier to kind of handle in a way if you know that it's related to something specific? Because I find it really difficult when I'm feeling anxious and there's nothing to like
Yeah.
pinpoint it to, like, this is why. Like, sometimes there's just no reason, and that's quite difficult, I think.
Yeah, and I think I definitely find that hard and then get into a kind of spiral of trying to figure out why. Like, if I just knew why, then I can solve this and I can feel better and I can move on. And
Mm.
that actually what I need to do in those situations is just sit with the discomfort of how I'm feeling, sit with the discomfort of not having the answers, of not knowing, until it passes. But that is easier said than done.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because when it is just like generalized, it doesn't matter if you figure it out because it'll just jump to another thing, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
After what Gemma said yesterday, I mean, I'm not surprised that we all feel anxious, and if we can't always put our finger on exactly what it is, and
Mm.
if it isn't immediately or at all solvable,
Yeah. I
because it
think
goes deep.
the other day I said to you, I think I was feeling rubbish and I just said something like, I'm just feeling like this for no reason whatsoever and I don't understand why. And you just said, I don't think it's for no reason. And, even if it's not a reason like directly related to you and your situation, it's that kind of collective suffering that women um, experience because they're women and we're oppressed. And, yeah, and to let this woman go, like, wow, yeah, actually, when you put it in that like perspective, it makes total sense that I'm feeling this way. And
Mm.
like considering all of that, God, am I not just doing an amazing job?
I do all my best work by text. I do all my best work by text.
You do. I think something else I do is to, well, no, it's not I think, it's a definite, is to catastrophize.
You're really good at that. If there was an award for catastrophizing, you would have it.
What did I say today? We had a call and we were due to have a call, and beforehand I just said I'm feeling really anxious about this, like on a zero level anxious. Just like You were really lovely, and you were just like, well, like, what do you think is going to happen? And I was just like, I'm not going to say the right things, and you're just going to hate me, and then you're just not going to talk to me forever, and this is the last time you'll ever speak to me. It really spiraled really quickly.
Oh,
If
wow.
we did that because of stupid things that we'd said to clients or potential clients, our friendship would have broken. You'd have broken friendship with me so many times over.
That's just where my brain goes to when I'm feeling anxious. Like, it's just straight to absolute worst case scenario, and it feels like a real possibility. It doesn't feel like now I can look back and go, God, that was being really silly. But in the moment, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't feel like that.
Mm.
What kind of so Amy, you've got an anxiety group.
Yeah.
What kind of I'm not asking about the people who come or anything, but is it like generalized anxiety? Is it kind of like phobias? And what do you do for people when they come to your group? Is it just about being with each other people who have anxiety, or is it more practical?
Yeah, so the group itself is it's called Tea, Cake and a Safe Space. So it's literally just a safe space for people to come and just feel comfortable with other people, and it's aimed at people with anxiety or depression, people who are struggling with their mental health and maybe just need an excuse to get out of the house. I mean, obviously at the moment it's all on Zoom, so you're not really getting out of the house, but talking to other people, which when you're feeling anxious and um, shitty, like being able to do that and afterwards being like, I did that. Like I did something today that I was maybe a bit nervous about, and it was good and it felt good, and then you go home feeling good. So it's not really me and my friend Kate run it, but um, we don't really do anything specific. It's just like setting up a time and a place and just holding space kind of for people to talk about whatever they want and just to get people together really. Yeah, it's a mix of people, mostly people with just kind of general anxiety, um, and sometimes we talk about it and sometimes we don't. Um, but yeah, it's just an excuse to kind of get out and talk to people. I think people in the same kind of situation. So yeah.
Have you found that people have become more anxious since all this started?
Um, yeah, well, I would say that the people that kind of regular people that we saw before lockdown and now, yeah, it's definitely been a struggle for a lot of people, including me. Just I guess like the amount of fear that is around makes everything more scary, and even just like going to the shop feels like a massive like a hurdle.
Lemon medals. Hey, I haven't finished your bedtime today, so sorry, everybody.
Don't worry. Um, so yeah, I would say definitely it has increased anxiety and probably agoraphobia in a lot of people, I would imagine, because the idea of going out comes with so many more like logistics and fears and like that. So yeah, I think now and after, when things start lifting, I think it will probably be quite an anxious time still, um, for me personally, but not everyone, I guess.
Yeah, I really resonate with that, like, sense of like struggling with the isolation, but then also struggling with going out, and because there's so much fear around. If you're a more sensitive person, like you just feel the weight of everybody's fear, and it's horrible.
Mm.
Going to Tesco, all you feel is just everybody's scared. But then equally, like being at home and not being able to see your family, and not being able to see your friends like face to face, and that sense of isolation is scary too, isn't it? So
Majorly, yeah. The isolation definitely, like, I think if, like you were saying about spiraling before, I think if that's something that happens to you a lot, being at home, stuck at home, either by yourself or just with just with your family,
so
that's perpetuated. Uh, for me, definitely, because I live by myself, so I'm alone a lot. And normally I'm used to that, and I enjoy it. I enjoy my own space and my own company. But when it's like forced upon you and it's constant, it's easy to spiral and to get stuck in that kind of negative um, thought cloud.
yeah, and I think like when you're by yourself, you can't do the things that you would necessarily normally, or you can't do all of the things that you would normally do to kind of try and ground yourself. And I think sometimes when I'm in a particularly bad like anxiety spiral, low mood situation, it really helps me to have somebody else to support me to get out of that, like in a face-to-face way rather than over the phone. I think like when you're at home, even just speaking to someone on Zoom or over the phone, like you put the call ends and then you're back in your like hole of anxiety and worry. Yeah,
It's pretty rubbish.
yeah.
Is
Yeah,
your group open to the public, Amy?
Yeah, so it's on an app called Meetup. We do have a Facebook page, but it's not like I don't even think the people on the Meetup app have joined the Facebook group because it was just like another means of communication. But there's not many people in that, so Meetup is the best way to find us. So you can like talk on the app, and all the events are on there. And then when you come to the Zoom meet, and we know that you're a real person, then you can join the WhatsApp kind of conversation as well. So yeah, it's open to anyone. You don't have to explain um, your anxieties or depression. I'm not going to ask those questions.
Would you put the link on the video after?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll
Thanks.
find the link. But yes, I will.
what
So
sort
it
of
kind of
things do you both do to help you feel less anxious, or help you when you are when you are feeling anxious?
A good question. Do you want to go first, Ellie?
if I ever notice, then I just message either of you, and you say nice things to me, and then it goes away.
That's definitely one of mine as well. Our group chat is a lot of just kind of supporting each other.
Sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
It makes a big difference when you say to someone, "I'm feeling worried about this," or "I don't feel." Sometimes you're not even able to verbalize, like to put it into those kind of words, are you? It's just like something doesn't feel right. I feel this weird sense of, I don't know, dread.
Mm-hmm.
For someone to just say, like, "I hear you," and those feelings are valid, and you're safe and you're loved. The end. But actually, that's just huge, isn't it? It just makes such a huge difference.
Absolutely. Definitely. I think a lot of the time, if if you talk to someone who doesn't necessarily have experience of anxiety themselves, and you try and tell them how you're feeling, it's often the response is like a solution, kind of
Mm,
trying to fix it, but
yeah.
it's not. It's that's not helpful, basically. So yeah, it's way more helpful for someone to just be like, "That's okay. Like how you're feeling is is valid, and it's, that's so much more helpful.
I always make a note of it and put it in my period tracker app so that
So
next
good.
month. Huh?
You're so good at doing it.
Yeah. I have. I can't remember when I started. Was it the beginning of this year? But I've at least written something every day. It helps that it's an app and I get to choose little faces, little emojis and stuff, and it's not very taxing.
Well,
But
sorry, go on.
if there's like a day where I feel like the world is ending, I can, if I put the word like anxious in today's calendar, then it will highlight all of the other days that I've said that I was anxious, and I can see patterns.
That's so good.
Mm.
Like, I definitely it is really linked to my cycle. Yeah, and I actually think before I was more like on the menstrual cycle awareness kind of stuff, I just thought just before my period, like I just feel awful, everything's bad. But actually, there's other parts of my cycle where that it kind of seems to crop up as well, like just those transition periods from one part of your cycle to another when your hormones are like changing from one thing being like in higher concentration to something else. But they're the times when I'm just like, whoa, I can't do it today.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's
it's
really
amazing to stuck with it for so long. Because I guess when you are feeling like that, I imagine that helps to fill in some of that. Why am I feeling like this? You can be like look at your period tracker and be like, oh yeah, it's really normal for me to feel like this around this time.
So what do you do when you're feeling bad?
Larry's frozen.
Oh, why is he a
And
blink?
that's and that. Oh no!
You just gone a bit fuzzy and kind of like a cartoon character. Oh no.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh,
I can hear you now. I don't know if I could hear you before.
why did I break? I leave and then come back.
I don't
Will that
believe you
work?
can back.
You could try.
You can try.
I'll leave and then come back if that makes sense.
I feel like Chloe's mic has been quite quiet. I'm not sure if it's connection, if that's a connection thing, or if I just wasn't hearing it very well.
It's hard to tell.
I thought she was just thinking really hard about the question.
Here we go. He's coming back. There you are.
Well, that's better. You've got loads of pixels now.
Yay.
What makes me feel better? Yeah, definitely our group chat and talking to other wise women who won't necessarily try and fix it for me or give me solutions, but to just say that's really shit and I'm here for you. What else? I really like my crystals. Sometimes when I'm feeling super anxious, I just take my favorite crystals and put them in my pocket. It's good from like an energy perspective, but also just like the sensory, being able to touch it and hold it, and that I find that very grounding. Other grounding stuff when I'm like super anxious and like I can't breathe kind of feeling. Trying to just ground myself in my surroundings. So like, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I feel? And just try and be really in my body. Hugs. Sometimes I just ask the kids for a hug. And this one isn't one that I remember often, but like my basic needs. Have I eaten today? Because that's another thing that I often lose my appetite if I'm feeling anxious. So sometimes I won't eat because I just haven't got hungry. Having something to eat, having something to drink, having an early night. and knowing that, like, just letting say to everything, yes, yes, yes. Um, having an inner know what was the saying, and yeah, just knowing that it's okay if I don't do the things that I thought I was going to do that day. So if I thought I was going to get loads of work done, but actually I ended up just worrying and not getting anything done and not being productive, like, that's okay. Today might have been a write-off, but tomorrow hopefully won't be. So I feel like I need to record this for those moments when I am feeling anxious, because I don't remember any of this shit.
That's one of the like, if you can remember all of those things whilst you're anxious, like, that's such a skill. But
No, I can't.
it's not easy.
I'm full of worrying, so I say I'm feeling really bad, and someone says, "Hey, have you done these things yet?"
Yeah.
You make me feel a bit better.
I think we should all just have a list of the things for each other, and then as soon as you say it, we can just be like, "Here's your list."
Really good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. What you were saying about the kind of senses, like, what can you see? And I always forget that one. Like, I've only ever been able to use that when someone's been with me and said it to me at the time.
Yeah.
I feel like I should write it down somewhere, like, really obvious. Where do I normally feel anxious? And just put it there.
Yeah.
I think for me, being outside, just kind of fresh air, or if I can be like in nature near trees, that definitely helps. It's not always possible. Um, yeah, I guess it depends where I am at the time. Um, but normally moving away from other people, um, I tend to deal with it better if I'm by myself or with like my sister or probably one of you guys, or both of you. That'd be even better. Um, so yeah, like, only certain people will help in that moment. Um, what else? Basic needs, definitely. Um, like you were saying, if you're feeling anxious, like kind of low key anxious, I forget to eat and drink, and yeah, basic things like that. So it's definitely just having that reminder is helpful.
Mm-hmm. And breathing as well. I always forget that.
Yeah.
and and it's so interesting, because when I do remember, or somebody reminds me to just like have a breath, like a really conscious breath, just breathe in and a really long exhale, I suddenly realized that I was like breathing really fast, and that again doesn't, like, when you're limiting the amount of oxygen coming into your body, it's not going to help, is it? So, and I guess one of the things I love about using your breath is that you, like, always have it with you. You don't need to remember it. It's just a tool that you always have. So.
Absolutely. And tea. Tea is always a good one.
Yeah, even if you don't drink it, just making it.
Just hold it.
Yeah.
Holding a hot mug,
on.
magic, isn't it?
Yeah. Someone just saying to you, do you want me to make you a brew? Yes. That's it. That will help.
Well, I think you have to be careful about when you offer the brew.
Like, you're breathing me to hold.
My Mr. Greedy helps because it takes both hands.
Hold my brew. Yeah. Can you hear my children being breathing?
I assumed it was a raptor.
Raptors would be easier to look after. I'd pick a velociraptor any day over these two. What was I going to say? Did either of you? Did you feel anxious at all during your pregnancy, Zoe?
No, my first one was very naive and I didn't experience any anxiety. And then the second time, I think I felt a lot of anxiety, but I don't think it was mine. I really picked up on other people's anxiety, and it was really difficult for me to separate what was mine from what was theirs.
I think that I often think that when women are sharing their experiences of being anxious when they're pregnant, that when you kind of dig a bit deeper, what comes out of those conversations is, I trust my body, I trust my baby, I know that everything's going to be okay. And actually, that fear is somebody else's, isn't it?
Mm. That must be so like deeply ingrained as well, because it's not just people that you know, it's like society in general, and the view on pregnancy and birth as it is, that itself has a lot of it carries a lot of fear in it, and it kind of spreads and it soaks into everyone. So that must be really hard to kind of to separate what's yours and what's kind of learned, um, or imposed on you, I guess.
Yeah, and especially if you're pregnant within the system and within terms of services, like that whole system is fear based. It's fear based practice. It's, you know, fear based policies and procedures. That's where it's all coming from. So
Mm.
I it must be incredibly hard to stay grounded within all of that. And I think it takes a lot of work to separate all of that fear from your own kind of feelings. And, and yeah, when you dig a bit deeper, that often that anxiety isn't actually yours,
Mm.
somebody else's. Mm. Yeah.
Did you have that?
Did I have that? I don't think I did actually. I think the second time round, my fears and anxiety. Yeah, actually, I did have a lot of anxiety the second time around, but it wasn't about the birth. I trusted that my body knew what it was doing. I knew what I was doing. My baby knew. It was about being a mother of two. I was incredibly worried about that. I was worried about going from giving this one being my all of the time, to like going, how the hell am I going to split myself between two? How can I split my heart and give him all of my love, but also this new baby all of my love? And um, yeah, so that was a big source of anxiety. Mm-hmm.
Did you have ways to kind of cope with that?
No, I think I just beat myself up a lot. So I had very bad PDP in both my pregnancies, but it was, I don't know whether it was worse or whether it was just that when you already have a toddler, you're not really able to rest at all. And towards the end of my pregnancy, like everybody was saying, you know, make the most of this time with him. You know, this is the last weeks of it just being you two, and then there's going to be a sibling, and make the most of it. But then I couldn't walk to the park with him anymore because it was too painful, and couldn't carry him up the stairs, and you know, I couldn't run around with him. So I felt incredibly guilty that this was the end of our time, just the two of us, but also I couldn't do all of those things with him. Not that he remembers or cares, because you know, yeah, he was very loved. Mary was just for the comment. Can you see that? Can you see it?
Oh,
Oh
sorry.
no.
Can you see the comment?
Can you see it now?
Oh, your face is hidden, Ellie.
You're so low down, Ellie. um, yeah, Naomi, absolutely. That's like what you were saying before about other people's fear, and that's the medical staff's fear being put on you, and that's not fair. Like, you've got so many other things that you're thinking about and kind of working on, and then to have other people's fear and doubt put on you at such a time, like, it's not fair. And where does their fear come from? Is it fear for you, or is it actually just fear of like being sued? Because because that's really important to question. Yeah, it's hard to
I
shape.
think in those situations where the woman has had a difficult birth the first time, more times than not, it was not because her body didn't work or because there was something wrong with her baby. It was the system that failed her. But then the system uses the fact that they failed a woman to to put that on her for her next pregnancy. Like, it's so messed up. Like, we messed with your pregnancy so that you had to have a cesarean section the first time. So then when you're pregnant again, they're going to tell you that that is something that you need to worry about. Yeah. And so often not based on evidence. So I suppose coming out as a end thing for talking about anxiety and pregnancy, it's really sit with those feelings and write down how you feel, and if the conclusion is that those fears are not yours, work on ways to let them go, because you don't need to hold on to fear that it doesn't belong to you. Fear is good. Fear that comes from us is a way of keeping us safe and guiding us. It's our intuition, isn't it? But if it's somebody else's fear, that's not serving us. So finding ways to let that go.
Absolutely. And you can't change other people's fear as well. So it is just a case of recognizing it and letting it go, which is hard when it's continuously pushed on you.
Yeah, but that sense of going this is my stuff, that's yours, have it back.
Yeah, that's a you problem.
Yeah, you do whatever you want with that, but I don't need to deal with your stuff right now, especially not when you're pregnant and about to add a new human being to your family. That is huge. Too huge to be dealing with other people's shit at the same time.
Absolutely. There's like what you were saying before about boundaries before the call earlier on today. So important, in every aspect.
Yeah.
But also really difficult to do.
Yeah, it's so difficult. But I do think it's something that just gotta practice it. You just gotta keep going at it, and learning from, rather than beating yourself up over the times where you didn't have healthy boundaries or you didn't maintain the boundaries that you were trying to put in place. Just learn from that and go, actually, these were the red flags that I should have listened to, or this would have been an opportunity to say no or to let go of someone else's stuff, and just and remember that for next time.
Absolutely.
I think that the more you what
did you say?
Sorry, go
the more that you do that, the easier it gets. And I think if you have, so much a positive birth isn't about luck. It's about doing your research and going, actually, no, that is your fear, and this is, and this is my fear. My fears are telling me that this isn't right. And then as a result of that, then the women that I've seen have those kind of birth where they said yes to what they want and no to what they don't want. The change that has happened in their lives afterwards has been incredible. Every single time that you say no and say an open-hearted yes, it just paves the way for next time and just makes it easier.
Absolutely.
And then you have under your belt, and
it's something that I think we're never really taught to do, and as I think as women we are kind of taught not to hurt people's feelings, and to just be nice and go along with it, not to to not hurt other people's feelings, and actually other people's feelings aren't our responsibility. So yeah, it's something that we haven't really practiced growing up. I'm sure not everyone, but I think the majority. And so when you do start doing it, and when someone tells you it's okay to say no and to set up those boundaries, and it's not you shutting people out. It's you, it's healthy. It's not a negative thing. Um, when someone tells you that, at first it's like, but it feels so wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think when you start doing it, it feels weird, but definitely the more you tell yourself that it's okay to do it and it's a good thing, it definitely gets easier. I'm still working on it, but it does get easier.
Yeah.
I think that's a really powerful part of hearing other women's birth stories because as someone comes into the room, you don't know them. They look just, they look not that dissimilar from you, and then you find out that they manage to set a really hard boundary to protect themselves from something, and you go, "Oh, if that woman who's like me can do it, then maybe I can." And then you have a good time, and then you tell other women about it.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think what I hear from women's experiences that it's so common in pregnancy to just think, well, I won't say no yet. I'll say no. I'll definitely say no when I'm in labour, but I'll just go along with things now just to keep the peace. But actually, those times are like vital opportunities to practice saying no, because saying no when you are completely lucid and you are in a 10-minute appointment is a hell of a lot easier than saying no when you are trying to birth baby
Mm.
and you don't want to be in that front part of your brain like trying to negotiate and like yeah have that conversation. You just want to trust that everybody who's in the birth space trusts you and knows that you know what's best. And I think every single time that you say yes when you really want to say no, it makes it even harder the next time to say no. It chips away, doesn't it, at that like strong sense of self that we have the capacity to feel when we don't, yeah, when we're not waffling, when we're not like connected with what we really want and then asserting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the boiling frog thing. I think many women go into writing a birth plan and thinking about what they want for their birth and thinking there's just going to be this moment, like everything's going to be going great, and there's going to be this one moment where something dramatic happens, and in that moment, my ideal birth is just it's right there in front of me, and then there's this obstacle, and I'm going to say no, we're going to get rid of that obstacle. But that is not how births go awry. They go from sorry, I've put my phone on do not disturb, but it's still beeping away. It's the saying yes when you mean no to this little thing, and it feels like I'm just saving my energy for that time when I can just when this big no is gonna change everything and save everything, and that's not how it goes.
Mm.
It's the oh well, I don't want to have an induction, so I'll just have a sweep because that's a compromise. They want this thing and I want this thing, and then you accept the sweep that you don't want, and that makes it easier to have the induction. That doesn't make it easier to say no to it. That makes it easier to say yes.
Mm.
Oh, Laurie's gone. But it's like, yeah, it's like a slippery slope. She really did go. It looked like she leaned forward and turned it off. What did I say?
Come back.
I'm gonna help him with my anxiety, Laurie. I know.
Oh,
Put the phone on vibrate. Do it.
here we are.
And we're back.
You
It
were
looked like you deliberately turned that off then.
I did because you
she's like, no.
come back and all I could hear was you going blah, 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 blah. So I
Oh,
just yeah.
I could hear you. It was,
I
I
think
think,
it's not
it was your, yeah.
sorry. I'm back.
all right.
It's not about like conserving energy, is it? It's it's having an opposite effect. It's like you said, it's chipping away at that confidence. Whereas if you practice saying no in those like those situations where it feels like the stakes are not so high, Like, can I just listen to your baby right now when it's in a routine appointment rather than you're like in your zone having a baby. But actually, no, I don't want to do that. And when you do that in those like less high stake situations, when it is one of those bigger situations, you've practiced it, like it's familiar. It's not doing something for the very first time.
Absolutely. I think a big part of that is, knowing what you do want and what you don't want. Like, I guess it's not always easy to know that beforehand, but for some things, I guess you will know what you do and what you don't want. Um, and yeah, I think when you know that, it's it's much easier to put those boundaries in place. But if if you do try to compromise, which I mean, compromise is a load of shit, in my opinion. Um, but if if you try to compromise, you're telling yourself that actually maybe you do want this, or maybe like you're kind of undermining your own. I don't know what I'm trying to say. My words have gone, but yeah, I think what I mean is that you're making yourself less sure of those things that you already were sure of. So
Yeah, like it makes it harder to listen to those thoughts and feelings and beliefs when you aren't making decisions that are in alignment with those,
yeah,
with all of that.
And it gives you confidence to display your own power.
absolutely.
So, what about so a woman's pregnant and she's anxious and she's gone, right, this is their stuff and this is my stuff, but actually my stuff is still making me feel like anxious. What can those, what kind of things can women do to feel less anxious and about having a baby? Is it
Mm,
about feeling less anxious and less grateful?
Ooh.
yeah, I guess it's more about acknowledging it and figuring out. Well, not necessarily figuring it out, but if the anxiety is coming from something specific, um, yeah, maybe there's work that you can do there, but mainly just acknowledging it and knowing that it's okay and it's normal to feel anxious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Something that we.
sorry, go on.
No, you had that look in your eye like you were going to say something good. I definitely wasn't.
I was just going to say that I just wonder whether those fears are like actually quite an important part of that like transition to motherhood, because when you become a mother, when you become pregnant, it starts from the moment you decide you want to have a baby or you know that you're pregnant. It's the first time in your life that you truly start to put somebody else before yourself, where you're suddenly responsible for another human being, and when you're pregnant, like solely responsible for that human being. That is huge. And that fear is your brain doing exactly what it's meant to do to keep you and your baby safe. Like, that fear is how you know when your baby isn't okay, because you feel it in your body. So and you're on the lookout because you're feeling scared. But I guess it's about that fear not becoming overwhelming. So surrendering to it rather than letting it overpower you. Know that that fear is a part of you, but isn't bigger than you. It's not
Mm.
something that, yeah. Lost my words again. What were
They
you going
were
to say?
I don't remember, but I could waffle and see if it comes back.
Go for it.
Anxieties in pregnancy, do we need to deal with them? Yeah, I think something that we always say is that there's power in bringing stuff to the light. When you've got this fear in pregnancy, well, I guess any time, but this is when we mainly deal with women. Sorry that I'm all over the place. I need to stretch my legs, but there's a very delicate cushion situation going on. It's a very, it's all very balanced. If you could see it, your cameras never move, and you just sit there, and I'm always fidgeting. But that's me.
Am I still here?
Hmm?
Am I still here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you went all funny, but it's back now.
Oh, it's probably just because I'm moving about. Like it festers. Your fears fester when they're at the back of your mind, and when you're just telling yourself like, "Oh, good vibes only. I only want positivity," and you've got this thing in the back of your mind. Let's say, for example, a fear that your baby's going to be too big for you, and this is something that comes up a lot, especially at a very specific gestation.
26
Um,
weeks. 26 weeks.
roughly exactly there, yeah. And oh, I don't know, you could do that. Let's say you've got this fear in the back of your mind that your baby is going to be too big and there's going to be a problem. If you just tell yourself it's going to be fine, then that fear gets bigger, not smaller. Because as soon as you shine a light on it, then you've got facts on your side, you've got history on your side, and you've got the fact that everything is on your side if you can allow yourself to go there and hold the space for that really uncomfortable thing instead of just trying to gloss over it with the good stuff. Like, you might get to the good stuff by by doing some research or talking to somebody who you know will be supportive and hear you. But like the big baby thing is a myth that's persisted since Victorian times. But even if it wasn't something that was easily like disprovable, there is enormous value in just saying, I'm really worried about this.
Definitely.
Just saying it is helpful. Like, there's some things that just don't feel safe for people to process in their own minds, because
Absolutely.
what if it drags you into this hole that you can't ever get out of? What if it's too big? And if you're with a supportive person, even if they don't say anything, sometimes especially if they don't say anything, it just feels safe to verbally process it.
Yeah.
So that's something that we always we don't probe, and we don't take women where they don't want to go. We just make it really clear when we're working with women that anything is shareable. It doesn't have to be, oh, I'm worried my baby is too big. It could be, I'm worried about this thing that's completely unrelated to pregnancy and birth, because those anxieties, if you shove them down, you press them down, you put them to corners of your mind, they just take different forms and they do pop up, and they're absolutely going to come back in labour, because labour is this like trance meditative state. And I know that the second I ever try to meditate or do yoga, this thing that I've this thing just goes, this needs attention. This needs attention right now.
Because like being in labour and being in those those like trance states, it's like being the truest you, isn't it? It's like, and being really connected with that. But if the truest you has all of these worries going on, like that's when they're gonna just be like, pow, like deal with me now. I often find that just verbalizing them makes me realize that um they're not that big. Like sometimes I just say it out loud and I'm like, actually, that I can. That's not as big as it felt when it was in my head.
Yeah. I'm gonna be super nerdy and quote Harry Potter right now. So Ellie, I am sorry, but everything you've been saying, I have to say the quote, okay? um, so Dumbledore says, "Fear of the name only increases the fear of the thing itself," and that's exactly what you were just saying. So I had to say it out loud.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just saying it out loud makes it a little bit less scary.
Go on then, say it.
I just said the quote.
I know, but will you say Voldemort?
Voldemort. Okay, moving on.
I knew what you were referring to.
I'm so glad. I feel like I didn't need to apologize now.
I think I used to quote Dumbledore not too long ago about how wizards are never early or late; they're always on time. I used to say that babies are like that too.
Amazing. I feel like there's loads of Harry Potter quotes we could use, but
That's a live for another day.
yeah, inspirational Harry Potter quotes.
Sure. Something that I find really helpful when I'm trying to like let things go is to like do something physical with them. So you all know that I'm like a pyromaniac, so I always write stuff down and burn it. That's just my thing. But like anything, like crumpling it up or like, yeah, just something really physical. Just I can just feel it. It's gone.
Yes,
That is so true.
it is. Sorry.
So wrote a really big comment. Can you show
I can. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Where'd you go?
Ellie, you've gone.
It's all right. The quote is better than my face. You've seen my face.
Yeah, like knowledge is power, isn't it?
Mm.
And it often means that because of the fear and the anxiety, we don't want to look at like the knowledge. But when you do, like, that just puts the power back in your hands, especially when it's having a baby scenario. Because I think maternity services, so much of their processes are about sharing this information with women. And when you have knowledge and you understand how your body works and you know how birth works, you know that when they're telling you something, it's just bullshit. And yeah.
Two thoughts. One, we should do a birth in media live, and we should like watch and react and comment on birth in TV and film,
Yeah.
where it's been portrayed positively, where it's been portrayed negatively, and quotes which are like pertinent, like the Harry Potter ones. And also, I really wanted to do a live with you, Julie. Please come on one day and talk with us.
Yeah, sure.
I love the idea of reacting to things live. I've added it to the list.
I missed your suggestion because I was too busy
Oh.
telling my children to go to bed.
We should do a birth in media live one day, and we should watch and react and critique birth in films and TV shows.
Yeah.
And we could get people to like suggest specific, like
the dealers react to birth.
yeah.
I love that.
You're a natural born YouTuber, you are. But
yeah, you, Julie.
I don't know if the world is. Yeah, of course you, Julie. Yeah, because yeah, please.
Births of Gilmore Girls definitely have to be in there.
And your birth, you name the kid doula. I mean, that's really something.
Yeah, and I think we should pay special attention to any birth in TV and film where there is a doula, because she's always doing something. She's always pretty freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's not a good representation. The birth in Friends as well. They're pretty bad.
I think we'll be hard pressed to find good representations of birth in the media.
Yeah,
but even if we do, they'll still make me rage. For sure, they will. I don't know if people are ready to see me rage on lives. To be honest,
I am so ready.
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Laurie's never seen me as angry as when Papa John sent me the wrong pizza and then wouldn't give me a refund.
That was really early on in our friendship as well.
It was too early to show you the rage.
You were really raging. I was just like,
why didn't they give you a refund?
I can't remember. It's probably not a good time for me to recall it. It's obviously in the vault.
We don't need to talk about it.
You were very angry though. You have really bad takeaways though, like really bad luck.
Do you ever get so angry that you can feel your heart beating in your throat and then you can hear it in your voice?
No.
Really?
Well, I think this is for a live another day, anger and women, but I don't think I'm very good at expressing anger and allowing myself to feel angry. When I do think that I'm being angry and I've lost my shit, you're just like Lauren, you're acting like a angry kitten. Yeah, I think that would be a good line from another day, maybe.
Definitely. It's a good topic. Like the amount of times that we get told to calm down. Yeah.
Cool.
Laurie does this. She goes, now, boys. That simply won't do. And she's like, I'm really sorry you had to say that.
That's a bit of an exaggeration. But then today, I thought I was being really calm with Theo. And I was just like, I need you to just turn that off and blah, blah, blah. But I said it, I wasn't like raising my voice. And he was, it was over dinner yesterday. And he was just like, well, I don't want noodles. And I said, I would really appreciate it if you didn't shout at me because it makes it really hard to communicate. You were shouting at me! And I wasn't. But like when people are telling you that you're angry when you're not, it's really hard to then let yourself be angry in the moments when it's like justified and valid.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went off on a tangent then on our anxiety.
I mean, this has all been a really big tangent. We started off on anxiety, and then obviously we ended up talking about birth. And you about
it was kind of connected. I think it's connected.
I can think of a good representation-ish of birth. Well, better than films and TV. Sims. The default.
You know I'm not there yet. You know, I make sure she gets to work on time. Get her food is clean.
Oh, Ellie, you'll love it. But the default is home, and like you have to like tell them to go to hospital if you want them to. Like
yeah, but I think
you've gone.
You tried to go to hospital, and you said like you can't do it. You can stay at home. No, you're not.
I missed the first time.
Yeah, we all did, but it was funny.
I remember that.
You just went, and then you just started talking about Sims. It was adorable.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah, you're back now.
I think it was like in Sims 3 where you had to like keep telling them to not go to hospital to make them stay at home. Anyway.
But now, no, yeah, they just.
I also do a lot of this when I'm anxious.
Oh wow!
Crocheting. Although my anxious crochet gets super tight, and then if I crochet them when I'm feeling like super chilled, they're all the wrong size.
Yep.
My knitting is like that.
I'm so angry. And then when I'm like, oh, I'm with Ellie and it's really nice, it just gets a bit too loosey-goosey.
That is why scarves are not a good project for amateur crocheters and knitters. Just saying.
They just get like that.
Yeah, and then you lose confidence in your ability to crochet or knit.
When are we doing crocheting? When are you going to teach me? Because I've got my hook.
We need to tell the world what they need to buy, so I will add that to my list of things to do tomorrow.
I put it in the Trello about this. So we need to tell people what they need to buy
today.
What?
I was too anxious to look at the Trello today.
We've got some good stuff in it. I've updated it. We run our organisation in Trello and Bagsy. That's our foundation. That's how we work. But yeah, tell people. I think in the Trello it just says, tell people what to buy, and what we'll be making, and when we'll be making it.
Well, and that's what I decided. But I always think Granny Square is a good place to start, and we can always do more in the future if people want to make stuff that's more specific.
Yeah,
but with granny squares, you can do so much. I showed my friend how to crochet, and all she could do was granny squares. So she just made a dress out of granny squares.
Oh wow, that's amazing! On Instagram, I think it was Louise said a bag, but you could totally make a bag out of granny squares, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Take your canvas bag, take your canvas bag. That's what I think whenever I see a reusable bag. That bloody song, and it really sticks in your head.
Oh, Tim.
But yeah, this is the solid granny square, so maybe something like this.
I like that. And you can use that as a coaster.
Yeah, for sure.
Enough of them together, you can make a bag.
Or
Okay.
a dress.
Should I say what people need?
Yeah.
I'm gonna find my hook, but I can't see it. So you need a crochet hook,
I've got one here.
a 4mm crochet hook.
Not size 4mm.
Yeah.
You totally can't see it, but yeah.
Sometimes I have a letter, don't they, as well? But I don't know what letter
Yeah.
I'm for.
The letter thing is American, but if you go with millimeters, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, 4mm crochet hook. I really like the I do think when I first started crocheting, I bought like a pack of super cheap hooks. They were like £5 for a pack of like all of the different sizes, and I just thought I was really rubbish at crochet for a really long time, and that I couldn't crochet very fast. And then I got a nice hook, and I was just like, oh my god, I'm really good at this. So, but it's certainly not a given that you have to have a super nice one. But I like what's it called, Ellie? The one that I like.
Clover and more.
Yeah, fancy.
It's not going to hurt you if you buy 50 either, because you're going to lose them. And you will never find them. It doesn't matter how much you tidy your house. You are going to lose so many fours. And then one day you'll find this four and it's like, finding a four is like gold dust. I must have over 100 crochet hooks. But if any of them are four.
And sometimes you're tidying up and you find the four and you think, I'm going to put this somewhere, so that when I come to crochet, I have my four. And then it's just never there, is it?
Do you not
And then
have
I'll buy a set. I'll buy a set of crochet hooks, and they come with this nice, and they come in this nice packet, and I'm never going to lose them, and it'll be worth the money because at least I'll know where they are. And instead of me just constantly buying fours, I'll just always have them. You're going to take that four out, and it's going to get lost, or it's going to walk out. Nobody knows where the fours go to.
I was going to say, do you not have like a crochet bag or something? Like,
oh yeah, the fours don't like staying in there. They go with us.
Well, I only have one, so I'm going to keep a close eye on this one just in case.
Like, I have a little pencil case thing here, and as you can hear, it is full of hooks of different sizes. I can tell you now, none of those are a size 4mm. None of them. And sometimes I think, oh, I can see a number 4. No, it's 4.5. Anyway, so you need 4mm crochet hook, some yarn in DK weight. Does that stand for double knit, Ellie?
It sure does.
Yeah.
This is nice.
And you will need some scissors, sharp scissors. They don't have to be like, what are these called, Ellie?
Sewing scissors?
Yeah, they just need to be sharp. And a needle to sew in your ends afterwards.
But like a wool needle, something that's quite thick and blunt that you can fit yarn through the end of.
And like mine's quite blunt. It's not. Oh, that's my camera. It's not very sharp. But I will do. I'll take a picture of everything tomorrow when it's not dark and put the post up somewhere. So if you come up.
Amazing. Do you find crocheting is good for your anxiety? It's just bringing it back to.
This has been a very carefully orchestrated live, and every minute has been accounted for and planned ahead of time. And we knew that exactly 1:08 we were going to get back to anxiety via crochet.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it depends what I'm crocheting. If it's something that I am finding hard, then no. But I think what I love about crochet is that you don't even have to be making anything. You can just kind of keep going. Like with a granny square, if you're like crocheting a square, you can just keep going as much as you want. And then if you decide you don't want it, you can just unravel it and you've still got the yarn for something that you actually want to make.
But the act of crocheting, the act of any small repetitive gesture, boosts oxytocin.
Yeah.
So that is good. And then oxytocin is obviously contagious, so it's always nice. So sometimes at a birth, I'll take a small ball of yarn and I'll make something. And then instead of just like cutting it and sewing in the ends, I'll just undo it and make it again.
Yeah, same.
That's so nice. I am really excited to learn. I've been knitting. I know how to knit. My grandma taught me. But I mean, I can't follow a pattern. I just make like blankets or scarves. So anything that like fits on a needle and is long, that's what I can make. But I find it really relaxing, but it's kind of noisy. So like, I
Yeah.
don't think I could knit at a birth. Although I do have wooden needles, they don't like click.
Oh, nice.
But
Well, but then sound.
they're really nice. They're from Sostering Green. Love it. But yeah, I'm excited to learn how to crochet. So anyone who is going to join us for the live, I am a complete beginner, so it's going to be lots of questions from me, and yeah, beginners teaching. I think. Yeah.
And crochet is just so mobile. Huh? Oh, Laurie's frozen.
Oh,
Laurie always freezes in like
I
flattering, flattering freeze frames. When I do
oh,
it,
Am I back?
yeah.
crochet is like it's
Oh,
so mobile. You just need a. It's just this one stick that can fit inside the ball of yarn, and you can just take it anywhere, and it's not a big deal to take it out and just do like a couple of rows. Whereas it's knitting's a lot more conspicuous. It takes up
Yeah,
space,
definitely.
more noise, and
Have you checked inside your balls of yarn for your fours?
Oh yeah, I often find them in a ball of yarn. From a project that I gave up on, I have a lot of unfinished projects. So maybe that's where I should start looking for them.
they're not unfinished.
I
They're
reckon
just
that's,
knitting.
oh, Laurie, you're frozen again.
I can still hear you when you freeze, though. So it sounds like we're winding down. Does anybody have any questions about anxiety? Generalized, maternal? Laurie's very excited about these anxiety questions. Look at her little face.
Oh, Laurie, you're so frozen.
Oh, she's coming back.
Kind of.
No. Does anybody have any questions about anxiety? You can ask us about our experiences as doulas, as women, as humans. If you like, now's your chance. And also, we would love to hear your experiences of good mental health, bad mental health, recovery, coping mechanisms, tips. We want to hear that. So please do share it with us. It can be anonymous if you want to share stuff, but you don't want to put your name to it. That is completely fine. You can send us a video, you can send us a poem, you can send us a blog, you can send us a picture. You can send us articles that have been helpful for you that you want to pass along. This is such an important week. Mental health is at least as important as all the other forms of health. And if you're physically healthy but not mentally healthy, then you're not healthy.
No, and like poor mental health, it might start off just as mental health, but it affects you physically as well, and it leads to poor physical health. So I would say it's probably more important.
I can't see comments and stuff, but if we haven't got any, shall we say bye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a quick reminder that if anybody does want to talk to us privately, we've just been funded by the lottery to be able to offer one-to-ones. We are still accepting donations, so that money goes further, but there's absolutely no judgment if you want to access funding for all of that cost.
Yeah.
So please do come to us. We're not mental health professionals, but we are really good at listening. A lot of the time we've been there. A lot of the time we've been there for women who've been through something similar. We're not going to shy away from you if you are feeling bad. It doesn't matter what you bring to us, and if you have more needs than we can support you with, we'll signpost you, but we will support you to the absolute best of our ability and our capabilities. That funding's there for all sorts of things. Just get in touch with us and talk to us.
Groups. We've got
aye. It's going to be a busy week.
Tomorrow, and then next week is busy, right?
Wall-to-wall groups.
So Tuesday we've got the birth workers circle. So anyone who works with women, wants to work with women, yeah, you're welcome to join us there. What else?
Wednesday is free birth group.
Wednesday is free birth group. That's not even in the diary.
But it is. I saw it today.
On the
Afternoon.
calendar.
Wednesday afternoon. It's in my calendar.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Thursday is women reclaiming birth. A lot of the time, that is women who've had a really difficult experience. It's not the place to debrief that experience. You can do that with us privately, but it is the place to go, what happened wasn't okay, and I'm going to plan something completely different. And you can do that surrounded by women who've done the same. But also, it doesn't you don't have to have been in that situation in order to come to the group. You just have to be a woman interested in birth and putting the power back with the women who were doing the birthing. And then back to Friday again, which is Wild Mothers.
And that's tomorrow as well.
That is tomorrow. So if anybody wants to join to Wild Mothers, you don't have to be a massive hippie to join, but
You
it's
don't have
okay.
to be a mother.
Yeah.
It's about
Yeah.
not about being a mother, but about mothering ourselves, mothering others. Sometimes it is about mothering our kids.
Sometimes it's about our experiences of being mothered.
Yeah.
It's something that we all have in common, whether or not we have kids. So, yep, join us. It's come as you are. You don't have to. It's not necessarily all smiles and jolliness. Sometimes it's just about showing up as you are, which is like, I'm feeling really crap today. There's no expectation that it's all sunshine and rainbows. It's okay. That's actually the whole point of the group. It's not just okay. Like, please do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Really well, considering we're all feeling anxious beforehand.
Yeah, but talking about it has made me less anxious.
Yeah.
And it'll make it that much easier to do the next live.
Yeah. Whenever that may be.
Tomorrow.
I knew you were going to say that.
Not doing them. I find it really hard to stop, even though it keeps me awake until after midnight.
Yeah, when we did World Doula Week, when we did it like nearly every day, like it just felt so like routine by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And when we stopped doing it every day, it just felt so wrong.
Yeah.
What am I doing with my evening? Not talking to Facebook.
Yeah. So yeah, soon then I guess we'll do the next one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. So, yeah.
Bye
What did you
everyone.
say? Oh, yeah, bye.